As my good friend Justin Wilson once said, I guarantee you this is going to be good. What are we talking about? Red beans and rice. Authentic to the T, but also what? Full of hog meat and good grazing. So y'all come on, I'm loading the boat and I'm paddling that away. Thank y'all for stopping by camp, and listen to me now, I don't want to jinx it, but this is the first morning in a long time that it's so cool. I even put a jacket on and it feels good. Don't even mind standing by the fire. You know, it's fall, it's coming up on us, and whoo-wee, I do love me some fall, but the good folks at Ariat give me a little old light fall jacket that's going to keep me warm in the just right weather, and I really be liking this deal right here. Ooh. But guess what? They be having a little link down there to where you can get my favorites right off their Ariat page, and there is a discount code down there as well, so be sure and apply that to you and get you some of that good looking clothing that I got. So folks, load up in the P-Road because we're going down there to see my good folks in deep South Louisiana and enjoy this what? Red beans and rice. Sundays, a lot of times deep South down there, New Orleans, all across Louisiana, they would be cooking a smoked ham or a bone-in ham that's just been cooked in a big old pot, and they'd be thinking, I need to do something with that ham bone for tomorrow. And tomorrow on Monday is always laundry day, so I'm not going to have a lot of time, so what are we going to do? We're going to have red beans and rice. It's a typical Monday meal in Louisiana. Now, I always grew up where we had red beans, that's what we called them. Mama them called them that, Grandma called it that. It's a pinto bean, but they always just called it a red bean. But really, a red bean for this is called a what kind of bean, Shan? A red kidney bean. And why do we call it a red kidney bean? Because it is in the shape of your little kidney that is sitting there. That's why we call it. It's got a deep red color, great flavor, and it's going to give us a rich red broth. 1 pound of dry kidney beans that I have cleaned, and picked the rocks out of, but I didn't even find a rock. And put them in a little water, let them soak here for about 45 minutes. So let's talk about soaking time. Well, down there maybe like there at sea level, a lot of folks might soak them overnight, but I don't think you need to. About 2 hours, you'll be in pretty good shape. Me, I don't even soak beans most of the time when old Bertha is in play because she's gonna heat them up so quick. But if you're after a faster cook time, soak them. You get a higher elevation, let's just go ahead and soak them overnight. But remember, make sure that it's in the icebox, cold water. You don't want none of that water turning sour or rancid. The next step in which we're going to do here, I advise you not to do in your kitchen. Because see, we had the beans soaking. So we just pour them right here in there, and we have automatic rain because we're in a drought in Oklahoma, we are. Make sure you get that water shook off of them. I have a stock pot that has water in it to about right here because we're not trying to drown these beans. We just want enough water in there for them to cover. So in they go, and that water was boiling when I started. You notice when we broke out the meat that is going in this, everybody sort of gathered around and think, yeah, I didn't know we was going to have red beans and rice with ham in them. We like ham. Now, so many times traditionally this was just done with that old bone that come out of that ham, just that ham hock. Just throw it in there and let it cook in them beans, and I still do that a lot with a lot of good smoked hock. But I love to put some meat in this to give me a little more bite every time I get one. A lot of folks be using sausage. A lot of folks just go ahead and just use that ham bone. But what do we got here? Ham steak. That's what I'm talking about. But you could toss it in there, couldn't you, Big? Right now, you could just toss it in there. But no, we got to get the most flavor out of it. So we're going to put it over here on the grill, and we're going to give it a little heat, a little smoke, and let it get just a little char on it. Then we're going to put it with them beans. Folks, we have direct heat. We got some hardwood lump in there from Fogo, a little oak, a little bit of mesquite mixture, and I just want you to hear that sizzle. That is a beautiful sound. Don't mess with them, just leave them there. We're gonna let them cook, let them get a little flavor. Let's go back to these bean pot over here because we got some more goodness to add in it. Beans is coming right along the yard, taking a bath in a boiling steam pot. We have our Wagner skillet with what? 2 tablespoons of that good Kerrygold butter in there. Because as Justin Wilson would say, I guarantee if you're cooking down there south, you better have the Trinity in there. What is that, Shan? Beans?
Onion,
yes.
Celery and peppers?
Nice. Just go ahead and dump them in there. Was 1 onion, 1 bell pepper, and about a cup of celery. Get your spoon and let's give them a stir and let that cook. Come back over and let's stir them beans just a little to make sure. Now, when you get this recipe put together and everything's in there, you're going to want to dive in there and stir it. You're thinking, boy, I got to stir it. Well, don't stir it too hard, okay? I like to use a wooden spoon when I'm doing this, and you're going to stir with easy, smooth strokes and make sure no bean is sticking to the bottom, because one burnt bean in a pot of beans will ruin the whole thing. But when you just keep just stirring in there and mashing, you done cut them all up. You done thrashed the skin off of them. We want these things to remain whole and look good as this process goes along, so don't over stir it. The little trinity here has been on about probably 4 or 5 minutes, and I'd like to add me some garlic cloves. I think if you add them at the first, folks, end up burning that garlic, and I don't want that. So load the garlic gun. So get you about 6 little ones or 3 honking big ones and put them in there. Whew, that flavor that's coming out of there, folks, it's gonna be so good. Let's join the beans. So get them all in there. Get that goodness in there really well. Don't leave nobody laying around in the skillet thinking that he didn't get to play with the rest of them. We turn this one off. Give it a quick stir. And then we're going to season. Now, you can season to your suiting as you go along here and taste that broth a little. But folks, after we've done soaked that, them beans is ready to season now. So I'm going to use a little bit of our mesquite and a little of our original. We're going to add a little coarse ground black pepper. And Justin Wilson, my good friend, he guaranteed me too that if you're going to cook this you got to have some bay leaves. So get you some of them dried bay leaves, put them in there. One thing you got to remember, them got to come out before we eat them. A little bit of dried thyme, because they ain't got time to grow no fresh thyme in my country. Did you understand all that, Shannon? Uh-huh. That was pretty good. About that much. We didn't grow no parsley in the garden either, so we're going to use some dried version of that.
Would you use fresh if you had
If I had fresh, I would sure put it in there. Give it a little stir, and if you can see there, and I think you can, the water level is just right there at the top of them beans. Now, when you go to add water to beans, you got to keep some hot water on the stove nearby. That way, when you put it in there, that hot water continues to boil. Whew. We couldn't be leaving this hog over all by himself. He wants to participate, I promise you. Now, let that cool enough to where you can handle it just a little, but we need to just go ahead and chunk it up into bite-sized pieces. And it's still a little hot, but I do love me some hog meat.
Is this beagle bite size or regular person bite size?
Well, I think it'd be regular person, but I am going to lay a piece over there to cool for my good spectating crowd here. And ooh la la, that is hot. I'm telling you, I guarantee. Well, the hog is chopped up and ready to go in the pot, so help if you take the lid off of it, it does. Things have got to boil in again really good. Don't let none of these jump out, because them hogs have been known to try to jump out of the pot when you put them in there. So just keep an eye on them as you're putting this in there. Like I say, you can use sausage. You can leave the meat out, but traditionally it had a little piece of ham bone in there, and everybody was good with that, and I am too. But I like me some, some ham in there, and a lot of it. Now you can see the water level is pretty close to the top of them beans, so we're going to add just a little more as it cooks along, because, folks, we have got to the very hard part of the recipe. That is, you have to occasionally stir, and you have to wait for it to get done. Pull up a chair, don't get too far from the fire, stir it every once in a while, make sure that your water level stays pretty good. Would you wait till it gets your turn? We're going to cook it probably all 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on where you're at, until the beans get tender. We don't want them to fall apart, but we do want them tender. Well, seeing as how they have been great spectators and great help today, we'll go ahead and give them a sample of the hog meat before things get going. Thank you, Beager. Thank you, Duke. Sadie the Munch Mouth. And who is it? It's the Mage. Good job, Mage. Everybody's had a bite. Don't run off, because you don't want to miss the rest of it. Ooh, well, it took about 2 hours and 15 or 20 minutes it did, and them beans got just right to tender. Remember, always give them a little stir, not too rough, you don't want to break them up, and if you need to add water, keep you some hot water on the stove. Now, cooking rice, hey, my friend Justin Wilson told me you just need to cook it long enough that it's good, but I'm going to give you some tips for that. When you pour that rice out of the bag or out of the box, put it in a colander, give it a good rinsing first. It's going to help that rice fluff even more. Now, I don't be minding you put water in your rice, but why would you when you could use like beef broth, bone broth, chicken broth, something like that, to give it a little more flavor and let it blend in there. Ooh, so good. Now you can see that, if we just had something to eat it with, Shannon. Oh, half spoon will travel like Paladin from many years back. I've been wanting some of this for a long time, and it don't have to be Monday. It can be any day of the week. Get a piece of that hog meat in there. He's rolling down there in that pea roll. Gonna get us another bite when we get there, and then we're gonna get over here and we're gonna break into the what? A little Cajun shuffle. Whew, that's some of that good. I'm telling you, I had loyal subjects help me again today. Y'all know y'all was here at the first of the video. They done got a bite to start off with. Come on, Duker. Here you go, Big. Good job. Duker, Sadie. And here the little mage back over here. Okay, that's it. Y'all need to get going. Now, as always, everything that we used in this video will be listed down there in the little description below. And don't forget about my good folks at Ariat, where you can get the discount and everything. There's a little link down there for that too. I tip my hat and I salute all the veterans, the servicemen and women who have kept that old flag flying in camp no matter where me and Shan's at. I appreciate what y'all have done and what you're doing for us now. Now for the rest of you, I need you to come on in here because you know you're fitting to get that big old hug, but I need you to hear this. You need to make the most of every day that you have. Yesterday's gone. Tomorrow ain't got here yet. Today is a gift. Why? Because they call it the present. So on this day, make the most of it. Do something that lifts your heart, but also lifts the heart and spirit of those around you. And just be glad to have the day. Thank the Lord for it. Now come on in here, because I am fitting to give you a great big old hug. Thank all of you for watching. God bless you one and all, and I'll see you down the what? Red bean and rice trail. Now, a lot of times when we're filming and people ask, how many people on your crew? Me, Shan, Major, Sadie, Beagle, Duke. That's about it. So the sun was bad for the angle for the camera woman, so you take 2 roofing nails and a reflector screen and you tack it anywhere you can just to get by. Hey, that's what we try to do here because Mother Nature is real and we keeping it real. But whew, you never know what's going to happen when you visit us at a filming.